What's up guys, Cwesolo here, and today we're back for another video on how to code in C#. Today we're going to be covering the var keyword, what vars are, and how to use them, and also some of the cool things that they can do. It's a pretty interesting keyword, and kind of what it can do is pretty neat, so I figure we'll focus on something a little bit simpler than classes and structs for once, and we'll focus on something a bit easier. So yeah, let's get into it. So in the code here, as you can see, I have a whole list of variables here up here, and I have seemingly more down here. So a var is basically a different way of declaring a variable. So far, the way that we've been declaring variables is explicitly by typing in the type and then naming it, and then either just leaving it right there or giving it a value, right? Giving an assigned value of what it should be, right? So that's what we've been doing thus far, is we've been just going ahead and doing it that way. But a var is another way to do it. It's instead of explicitly typing in the variable and telling the compiler what it is straight from the get-go, you can use the var keyword. And the var keyword will allow the compiler to figure out what the variable type is based on what you initialize it to. So I have a few cases down here with many different data types. There's a full list of data types on the Microsoft documentation if you want to figure out how to type in every data type, such as bytes and stuff like that. I didn't cover those here, or unsigned ints or longs. They have more syntax for those when you use unsigned variables as well. But in this case, I decided to stick with the simple ones and the most common ones that you'll be using in this video. So I have a whole bunch of variables here. So we have shorts, longs, ints, floats, doubles, decimals, chars, strings, and bool. That's what we have here, and I have all the different ways that you would initialize them here. A few things of note with vars is that you must first initialize the variable, right? You have to tell it, you have to give it a value. So, and I'll give an example of this. If I get rid of that and just leave it like that, you'll get some red squigglies and it'll say, hey, implicitly typed variables must be initialized. So you have to give it a value first off. And that's one key difference between explicitly and implicitly typing a variable is I could just leave this like this, and this is fine. It's okay. The compiler is okay with that. But with vars, it is not, because you have to give the compiler something to work off of, and that's by typing in the number, string, or whatever that you're going to be using. Another key difference is that explicitly typing a string, you can make it null. But you can't do that with an implicitly typed string because it will not know. You make this null down here, it's going to say, hey, there's a problem. So you have to go ahead and make it a string. You have to actually initialize what the string is. In this case, I put it as hello world. There's really not much differences between explicitly and implicitly typing it. You can basically do all the same things with these. Like if I wanted to, take my int or v my int, right, and plus equal it to my int, right, it's okay. And I can go ahead and console.writeLine and print v my int, which is var my int, that's what it stands for, and I could run this code and it'll be fine. They all work the same, because really they're just both integers, right? It's okay. We just 87 plus 87, I guess, is 174. So it just works. We're just letting the compiler determine the variable type. Now there is a few things that is different. So with specifically with certain variable types, you have to tell the compiler what the type is. So like in the case of shorts here, right, if we make a short and I have it set to 67, I have initialized it as 67 for my short here. If we do it with a var, we have to cast it to a short. Otherwise, if we don't, it will pop up here saying, hey, this is an int. And obviously, if you wanted to make this a short, you would need to tell it that it's a short by casting it to a short. In the case of a short, it really doesn't make much sense to use a var because you're just better off typing in explicitly in this case. Int it's fine. That's the default type for C#, so it doesn't need any kind of suffix after the type. Longs, you're going to need a suffix after it, otherwise it's not going to know that it is a long. It'll think that it's an int. Floats, we were already doing this with floats. We always were putting the Fs after the floats either way, so no difference here. And it's actually kind of nice because you don't have to type in float technically twice. You just type it in once and use the var keyword. Doubles, that's the default type, so you don't need anything after it. And C#, it'll automatically assume that it is a double if there is a decimal point in there. Decimals, you must have an M, just like you would with explicitly typing it, so no difference there. Strings and chars, there's really not much of a difference. You just declare them as you normally would, except that they can't be nullable. And bools, you just type in true or false. And like I said, they work all exactly the same, and you're just implicitly typing in the variable. There's also another cool thing you could do with vars. You could even make arrays with a var. So I'm going to go ahead and make an array for you with a var, and I'll show you how to do this. So we'll call this var my array, all right? And we'll say equal new array, and then we can just start typing in values, right? And heck, it's already in. Why not just do those ones? Oh, there's a little comma there that I want to get rid of. That's not supposed to be there. That might give us some problems. So as you can see, we have a cool little array here, and heck, if we can even go a step further and make a for loop using vars, why not? So we can do var I equals 0, I plus plus, or I is less than my array. Oh, not my int. My array dot length. Yeah, no, not get length. We want the length. My array dot length, just like that, and I plus plus, and we can go ahead and do my array at I, just like that, and we'll go ahead and get all those values real quick. And as you can see, we got all the values of each of the things, which is pretty cool. And an interesting thing about this is that these are all technically different types too, which is very cool. I'm pretty sure this is only this is a very interesting way to make an array using vars, considering we just combine different types together, and they're all different numbers too. Like that's a float, that's a long, that's an int, right? That's pretty cool. I wonder if I can actually add a string to this. I've never actually tried this before because to be honest, I've been quite curious about vars for a while. So no, strings won't work, but you can use all different number types, which is pretty awesome. Another thing that vars are really good for is making anonymous types. So say I wanted to make an anonymous type with a var. So you could use var. We're going to just put v, or you know what? We'll just go ahead and put my anon type, right? Set it equal like that. We'll go ahead and put the thing in here, and we'll put like fruit equals apple, comma, we'll do cost equals 1.25 and that's probably good enough. And we can't forget the new keyword. So here we have we've made an anonymous type. It's an anonymous type, so we just have this holding fruit and cost, so whatever the cost is of the fruit, and that's pretty much it. And we can go ahead and print this to the console. So we'll go console.writeLine, and we'll do my anon type dot fruit, and we'll put a little space in there. I'm trying to think of percent. What is it? M? V dot, no. My bad. My anonymous type dot cost. And as you can see, we'll go ahead and do this, and have this completely be weird with me. There we go. I forgot that I need to do it that way. You can't do the commas. That's okay. Whoops. You know what? We'll just put the $sign in there. That's better. There is a way that you could do it with making it automatically do it, but I forget what that was. So as you can see, we have an anonymous type, and it's good for doing read-only data that you want to be anonymous. So without really having to go and make a type and make a struct for this, for example, and have it do all that, you can make a var to hold that for you. That's pretty much all of the applications of a var. There are a few things to keep in mind when using a var. You don't want to use them all the time because they can be less readable. To some people, they are less readable. That is a common complaint of vars, is that they are less readable in the code. It's a lot easier to read int when you're scrolling through and it's like, hey, that's an int because it's explicitly typed and you know that it's an int. They are also, you are putting a little bit more strain on the compiler to figure out what the variable types are. However, this isn't something to really worry about unless you're making a really, really, really big program that is, it's going to take a while to compile. That may have a little bit of play on your compile time. However, I don't think it's really that big of a deal considering if it's a big program that's going to take a while to compile anyway, it's going to take a while. So I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. I think the main concern here is that it can cause readability issues, and you don't want to confuse yourself, especially if you're going through a long list of code or an entire class that is very large and you have a lot of vars being used. That may be a pain in the butt. But the nice thing is that you can scroll over with your mouse and you can see what it is. So yeah, that's vars. You can make arrays with using vars. You can declare variable types. You can use them in for loops or any kind of loop. You can use them as an anonymous type. And that's pretty much, I think, all the functions of a var. So yeah, they're pretty cool. And it's an interesting way to implicitly type in data and variables. So yeah, those are implicit types and the differences between explicitly typing variables and implicitly typing variables. So yeah, if you liked the video, leave a like, comment if you have any questions or anything like that. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more how to code in C# videos or just other coding videos in general. I'll be starting a how to code in C++ series soon, and there's also game dev videos in Unreal Engine and Unity on the channel too if you'd like to go check those videos out. There might be a card in the top right corner for you to go check that out. Yeah. Oh, and I also have Unreal Engine blueprinting videos too. Go ahead and, if you're interested in Unreal Engine and blueprinting, go ahead and check out the Blueprinting 101 series. And also be sure to wishlist the Amazing Ball on Steam. I'll have a link in the description for that. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day, and peace out.